Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Teen Talk Central. And this week we're talking about procrastination, why we procrastinate, and the psychology of putting things off. If this is something that you can relate to or something that you think you need to work on before the school year starts, definitely continue listening to this week's episode. Hi guys, it's Mia. Welcome back. Let's get started. First, I want to just say I hope everyone's having a great summer. I feel like I am ending my summer and we're slowly heading back into August. Common App is opening up. College season, essays, SATs are all coming up. So I hope everyone is taking some time to relax. And that's kind of why I wanted to talk about procrastination today. I want to dive into the science of it, what's going on, and then just getting into some more details of my tips and tricks on how to not procrastinate, especially if you're entering your senior year where you might have a lot of things that you have to do, not just school, like college apps and everything like that. As always, let's get into the psychology behind it. First is your executive dysfunction and the prefrontal cortex. Your prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that's kind of always growing. It handles decision-making, focus, and self-control. So when you're overwhelmed, anxious, or tired, this part of your brain actually loses dominance, and your limbic system, which is your emotion and survival instincts, kind of take over. That's why even when you want to do something that you know you have to do, it actually feels more impossible to start. Next is the dopamine loop, or instant gratification. Social media, snacks, and distractions can give you quick dopamine hits that you want to continue to get because you feel so much better when you have it, because obviously dopamine is that feel-good thing that kind of travels through our body that allows us to be like, oh, this is a nice sensation, I want to try to have it again, which is why we constantly scroll on social media. Your brain defaults to what feels good now instead of what helps them long term, which is kind of why instant gratification becomes a very dangerous thing. Next, avoidance and emotional protection. Procrastination often protects us from emotions like fear, failure, shame, or judgment. So if you don't try, you can never really fail, right? Which means that you don't have to feel that kind of shame. And for perfectionists or high achievers, this can become a repeating cycle and something that you can actually get addicted to. And last is cognitive load and task aversion. Big, vague, or emotionally loaded tasks feel like threats to your brain. And that this activates the idea of avoidance, and not because you're lazy, but because your brain is actually trying to protect itself from kind of these really large, daunting tasks. And procrastination is especially common in teens with ADHD or anxiety because of how working memory and emotion regulations interact. So, let's dive into some of the content. First, procrastination is not necessarily laziness. It's more about kind of putting things off, which is why it's kind of, if you're given a really big task, it's harder for you to do because it feels like a lot more work. I think school systems and pressure can create burnout in the idea of procrastination, which is why for me, I'll talk about it a little later, but I have certain methods into not procrastinating really big projects or schoolwork. And then, what is your brain actually doing when you avoid a task? It is kind of your limbic system and your prefrontal cortex, and they're kind of working against each other. The prefrontal cortex, like I said, is the area of your brain that kind of handles the decision making, and that is kind of overturned by the idea of like, I need to do this, or that instinct level of survival. And usually then you would try to kind of avoid it so you don't have to do the task because it looks so daunting and big. And modern distractions like technology can just kind of hijack the system in a sense and make you feel like you don't have to do it because there's other things that you can do, such as watching TikTok or scrolling on social media. And I think the emotional roots of procrastination come from the fear of failure and judgment. I think I sometimes procrastinate because it's like I might know that I'm not the best in this class, so why would I do it now if I know I'm just gonna fail, which is like an awful mindset to go into, but it is a mindset that some people do accidentally fall into. And then I think self-talk and mood affects your task initiation. I think if I talk bad about myself or think bad to myself, then it ends up being kind of a reverse effect, and I end up not wanting to because I think I'm already gonna do bad. And then let me give you guys some tips and tricks on how to help with the idea of procrastination that have specifically worked for me. Not saying it's gonna work for everyone because again, everyone is different, but some things that I've done is the start before I'm ready idea. So it's like, even if I don't feel like I want to do it now, I kind of almost force myself to do it now because I don't want to do it later, and I'd rather just get it done. It's taken a long time to kind of perfect this idea, but it's something that's really helped me, especially like with my classes and with the projects I'm doing in my classes right now. It's a lot of parts, and I just try to do it now. So I think about it, if I want to sleep at 9:30 but an assignment's due at 10 p.m, right? That doesn't mean I'm going to stay up until 10 p.m. to do the assignment. I'll try to finish by 8:30, which means I can be in bed by 9, so it's starting kind of before it's due. Next, like I said, breaking down into chunks. For example, I have 2 research papers that I'm writing right now, and obviously I can't just do a research paper and be like, okay, it's due on this day. I like to split it up, and even on the days that certain sections are due, I try to split up my work. So for example, when I was writing my initial introduction, I would have one due date for myself for the research specifically, and then another due date for myself for drafting, and then another due date for doing something else, and that kind of snowballs into getting it done by the right time. We have smaller goals, because in those smaller goals that are more easily achievable and you have more of them, it's similar to kind of that dopamine hit that you can get from like scrolling on social media. Next is break work into 5-minute chunks. Whatever you can do in 5 minutes, you get it done now, because I think that's really helpful for me, because again, similar to the dopamine boost, you just can get it done and out of your way. But then if you do 10 of those tasks, it feels better than not doing any task at all. And then also, working with a friend is amazing. I work with some of my friends on my projects at my summer camp, and it's been amazing just being able to help each other. And I feel really motivated when I am around people who are just as motivated as I am to finish and get the work done. And then I think you have to reframe your inner dialogue. As with anything in life, you have to kind of change your perspective on things and shift it. But I love just changing my perspective and outlook on life, especially if I'm feeling a bit negative. I can be like, okay, Mia, don't be negative, think positively. And I think replacing shame with curiosity is really important, because it's okay, like, instead of being like, oh, I can't do this, be like, okay, why can't I do this? What can I do to help myself be a better student and a better learner? So, I think if you need more advice, I can always give more, but these are just the top tips that have worked for me in the past and me right now. And yeah, if you guys think that you are lazy, you're not lazy. It's your brain protecting yourself from stress, fear, or overwhelming things. So if you understand the psychology of why you procrastinate, it makes it a lot easier to actually change your habits. You're not failing, you just need to work with your brain, not against it. I think that's a really key concept and fact that we have to remember here. Your brain is just trying to help you, not help you, because our body tried to do everything in its power to help you and help you be your best person. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this week's episode, definitely let me know. If you have any episode recommendations or comments or questions, as always, you can DM us on Teen Talk Central on Instagram, TikTok. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your summer. I'll see you guys next week for another amazing episode. Bye!